Good evening, UAW Local 862. It's just after 6 p.m. Long days. Getting a lot of calls, getting some information. You have to bear with us. We try to get information out as the day's going, but the delegates have to stay on the floor and be responsible for voting. So we got to be careful when we are out of the room. I myself being on the committee for resolutions, I'm on the stage. I was on the stage like today. You also got Marcus and you got all the other delegates. So just want to share it with you. Be patient. We're going to try to get through some information. This is going to take a few minutes, but I do want to say a few things that are very, very important. And matter of fact, Buck, myself, been talking about this afternoon along with several of our other delegates that they want to make sure that the information is getting to them correctly, and we know it's not.
Yes.
So, first of all, I really want to thank the Publications Committee online. We got Gordy, Drew, and Devonda Moore here. Two awesome soldiers for UAW out there doing exactly what they do day in and day out. They bring the information back to the membership. They do a wonderful job, and I just want to thank them for being everywhere we've asked them to be this week. Also, I want to thank the delegates that are here because, again, they're long days. It's not like a 9 to 5. You're done, you go home. It's not whatever. You get released as soon as they call for recess. So I want to focus on one thing starting now. News media. How many times have we heard the news media put something out that's wrong, or they wanted to get it out before anybody else could get it out in advance of things, and they got it wrong? We've heard it time and time again. Do not believe the news media 100%. Try to look at it with a grain of salt. Wait till we put something out. And again, when we get back, we're going to have not only video record, but we're also going to have our delegate record of how things transpired and what went down, what happened, if we can recall certain issues or events. Everybody's taking notes. We want to make sure you get the right thing. 2-tier today got blown way out of proportion with the news media. 2-tier is a number one priority. I know for a fact it's a priority with our negotiators like Chuck Browning, who have sat down and talked about having a product for every one of our plants. Talking about 2-tiers got to go. He knows it. We're talking about color. We're talking about everything. So to have the news media say that it's outrageous, because nobody in that room wants to see 2-tier be around any longer than it has to. With that being said, it is brought to the convention. It is in the resolution. So, Buck, if you'll help me. So, in the submitted resolutions book, for example, I'll just show you, out of all the 400 plus resolutions that are in here, every resolution has a page and a number and an article and section, okay? So everything pertaining with 2-tier issues, wage issues, equality and pay, everything is spelled out by whatever local sent it in. So every single local that sent these resolutions in, they were reviewed by the Constitution Committee and also the Resolutions Committee. I know because I've sat on the Resolutions Committee and I'm in the middle of my 3rd week here in Michigan. And this first and second week, we went through every single proposal that was submitted and the ones pushed forward. And we went through every one of them, and we found where every one of those went into what's called a policy resolution. So, for an educational point, if it's a constitutional change that was brought to us by the consent decree, right? The monitor is making us do a lot of the things that we've had to do, and was trying to push ranked choice voting on us yesterday, which if we came back to the membership with ranked choice voting, y'all probably would want to fire us or get rid of us immediately, because it was complex, it wasn't right, it could be played with, and we're not in a social experiment, we're in about representing the membership. So to dial back and digress, the constitutional delegate changes, whether it be the dissent decree or ones that come out of the Constitutional Convention Committee that changes direct language in the UAW Constitution, those are being gone through now. Then there's also the proposed resolutions. There's another book like this that's proposed resolutions. So you've got 31 resolutions. So those are policy resolutions based upon all of these resolutions submitted. And not only do we have to go through every one of them, we had to show where everything fell in every policy resolution. Every submitted resolution, we can take you to a 3-page or 2-page or 4-page policy resolutions that's going to be read out tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get as many of them as possible. If not, they'll accept them as written. But there's been so much filibustering going on for some of the anti, some of the negative, trying to filibuster, change things, tie up the day's events. And it's really frustrating because there's a lot of membership here that wants to move forward, be transformational, be transparent, and get the job done. We are moving the needle, but I really wanted to talk about that two-tier thing that I talked about earlier, and it is addressed. So when we get back to Louisville, I'm going to show you where equality and pay, it hits about 9 different policy resolutions I showed you where that is in there. But what we have to recognize, and we did today and had a lot of discussion where we go through every single region, right? And it passed, it failed for a pass to come into the Constitution itself because it's not its proper place. It's in the constitutional resolutions that's been put towards us, and I know it's hard to understand it first time out, but it belongs in the place of the collective bargaining part of the Constitution Convention. There's 2 parts to the convention. The one we're at now, and then we come back next May, I think it's May, March, and that'll be the collective bargaining portion of the convention. And the collective bargaining portion of the convention speaks to ag amp, auto, gaming, education, higher education, so all the sectors, aerospace. That's where it belongs. But we did have spirited debate and discussion on it, and it's where it's at. I promise you, on my breath and my experience and everything that I've got, we addressed it. It is in there about equality and pay, and don't listen to the news media. You can listen to somebody in the news media that's been around for a few minutes, or you can listen to somebody that you've elected that's been around for almost 30 years. I hope you understand. Some of the other things that were discussed in the news media, about a 31% increase. There was no 31% increase in pay. Again, more rhetoric that's coming out to try and create controversy. Again, we'll be able to show everything that was done. We'll show the process when we get back, how it was voted on. There's been a lot of resolutions and policy resolutions and submitted resolutions that have been drawn out of committee. So committee takes them and tries to, resolutions or constitution, and tries to make sure they're formatted right, make sure there's not any missing information. If there needs to be added information so the membership can understand it, we do that. So now they want to bring it out of committee. But the reason that certain folks here are trying to bring certain things out of the committee is, I think, to complicate things. I think maybe to try to have a sexy moment when something's going to happen anyway, to filibuster, but that's my opinion. And everybody has their right to freedom of speech. So I respect the hell out of our members here, no matter who stands up and talks or why they're raising themselves. They got a right to speak on behalf of their members. But there has been a lot of filibustering, a lot of points of order, multiple calls for points of order, and to the point where some folks were actually getting confused to where they didn't even know what was going on, and we had to stop for clarification. Wages on strike pay just got talked about a while ago. It was brought up to raise strike pay. Well, you don't want to be negative about strike pay, but you also want to think about where we're at. There's a possibility by November, December, we could be at the threshold to where we come back to 2 hours, which is good. It could take longer. I know we got Case, New Holland out. There's a strong strike there going on. But there was some language passed earlier today to where the strike fund would start paying out on day 1 of strike versus second week, even though we got our last week's pay coming to us and start week day 1. Is that wrong? No, it's great because we try to help our members and we're doing everything we can as a membership. This is not about someone saving their skin, somebody trying to look good to get elected. It's about every single delegate in this room, in there, from every region, saying what they think's right and about moving their union forward. But a lot of times we need to stop and think about where does that put us. It's great. I think it's great day 1 we get it. But then, and that's set. But now there was one brought up just before we revened about moving the strike pay from 400 to 500. We just, International Union increased the strike pay up to 400 based upon language that they could until we come back here to convention. And now it passed to raise it up to 500. That's all fine and dandy. It's good. We want to put as much money in our pockets and our members' pockets. But we have to be prepared for a possible strike. My personal opinion, Ford Motor Company is going first. We want to make sure that Ford Motor Company knows if there's $500 on the table versus $400, we're even more willing to go out. We know we're stable. One, save your money. Please save your money because we need to be prepared. Two, the $500 is great, but we also want to think about some examples. An example is when we go out on strike, if we go day one, if we end up going first at Ford Motor Company, that puts us, if we're 54% of North American profits, there would be a possibly good chance that we could be the ones called out on strike. I can't call that. I'm not leadership and I won't. But if we did, you're looking at a possible, well, $3.6 million for 1 week for our almost 9,000 members. So you take that and add benefits and pharmaceuticals, that's going to take you up even more. We're going to be $8 million a week. So what will happen is when we look at where we're going and we got to go on strike, we got to use that strike fund. There were some other things talked about, the interest being put somewhere else, and it ended up staying, which is good. But you could see an easy $20 million draw out of Ford Motor Company alone, out of UAW Ford sector per week. And then that gets us back down closer to our threshold. When we pop that threshold again, we're back 2.5 hours. A lot of great spirited debate. I think it was good where we ended up today when we left. A lot of information going out, and we want to share some of that. Now, if I misspoke, I hope I didn't. I'll fact check it. Hit me up. Get a hold of someone. Text me. We're always going to have the social media and the ones getting on there bringing reproach upon our union. But we come from a great union. We are a great union, and we've got a lot of history of great unionism. And Ron Gettlefinger today, when I got up and spoke on behalf of making him President Emeritus through my speech, Ron said it best: have union in your heart. Have union in your heart. Before you get on the keyboard or pass judgment or believe something that somebody that doesn't even belong to your organization, vet it. 24 rule, 24 seconds, 24 hours, 24 minutes. And have union in your heart and a little less hate. But we also want constructive criticism. Give it to us. We want to get you the information back the best we can. We did have a trustee today. One trustee election happened today. It should have been 2, but again, some more of that filibustering pushed it on. We were also supposed to vote on another resolution, and it got pushed tomorrow. And we were supposed to have our regional breakouts where we could get the nominations for our regional directors. Now, I will tell you this. We were able to get the nominations for the president of the International Union. And there were several people that were nominated. The vice president positions, several people nominated. And trustees, again, people nominated, multiple folks nominated. Now, we've got 1/2 of the trustee election done. We've got one more position tomorrow morning. With that and nominations, I'm trying to see what I missed. Buck, I know there's a lot of info. Do you got anything that I missed?
No, but it's a lot. We're going through a lot. We're doing everything we can for our membership, and don't let anybody else tell you that.
One thing, too, that we talked about today was the monitor. So one of the big things in trying to figure out the aptitude of where the union's at and the money we've spent, one of the questions was, and it was a very popular question, and it was about how much money have we spent based upon the monitor, what the monitor's requiring. We've come out of the corruption. We've got the consent decree that we've agreed on, but how much have we spent on dealing with the monitor? And one of the things with the monitor, we were supposed to have one monitor, one charge, if I could almost put it in that generic of terms, but you have multiple attorneys representing the monitor, and they're charging multiple times to where if you had to have one attorney sitting down to deal with something, you may have 3 or 4, and we're getting even more charges. We can't control that because that come out of the consent decree. Our corruption's gone, but we still got to deal with it. And to speak to it, the fees paid to the monitor's team from 2021 to date, $6,987,985. And then also the vendor fees associated with the referendum vote, 2021 to date, is $2.237 million. If you look at the ethics hotline that we've had, there's the fees associated with that, $850 million. You look at the fees associated with estimated vendor costs from November 22 and that election coming up, $2.6 million. So if you look at everything that we had to deal with the monitor, it's cost us about $12,840,629, and we don't have a lot of control over that because of the consent decree. So one of the things too I forgot to tell you is the strike fund is currently at $827,850,000 is when we hit the threshold. And again, they're hoping to project between November and December, but it's also based upon any other locals that have to go on strike. But I kind of wanted to share some of those numbers with you. We also requested some of the numbers, of the corruption that was brought, what they were contributed to, but it's substantially 4 or 5 times over what we've had to deal with so far. So it doesn't make any wrong or right. It doesn't make a right or wrong, but we do got to get our house in order, and that's what we're working on. And hopefully we'll be out of this consent decree by the time we get back to the next convention. And we're moving it forward, and everybody is dialed in, all in. Every delegate is participating. I know it was a long report, but I'd rather you hear it from me than to hear it from a news reporter and then run with it. And I know the majority of our membership wants to not bring reproach upon their union, but wants to put a protectionary circle around their local defense perimeter. Maybe, I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. It's been a long day.
Thanks.
But we want to protect our union at the end of the day. If we lose what 87 years has brought us to where we're at now, then it's all in vain. It's all in vain. We said today, matter of fact, when we got up and I was doing one of the resolutions, actually it might have been for Ron, I said I had to do an exercise, look at each other in our eyes, hold their hand, shake their hand. And I said, basically, as long as you and I, the person next to me, have unity and solidarity, then ultimately solidarity will be unbreakable. We might not ever always agree, but we've also got input. So it's something that we need to remember. Again, if you got any questions, do what you can to try to get them to myself or Marcus or James Wolf or Vonda or Gordy or Buck, somebody that you know that's here as a delegate, and we'll try to get that information answered as soon as possible before we get back. Thank you for listening to my long report and Buck's long report, and have a wonderful day.